Welcome to the Krypton Report podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow, and we cover, we are part of the Southgate Media Group, and we are your all things Superman and DC Comics podcast, focusing on games, TV, movie, and of course, comics. Welcome. And I would like to introduce, this is episode 528, and introduce my co-host, Mr. James Cole. Welcome, James.
Howdy ho, Tyler.
What is up, buddy?
What's going on, man?
Just another day. Just another day. All kinds of stuff, but, just another day.
Yeah. It was a nice day.
Oh, it was a very nice day. Like, it's one of those days.
It's beautiful outside.
I wish I would have got more stuff done, like, just based on some things. Like, I ended up sleeping in a little bit more because I've just been really exhausted the past week and yesterday. And there was just stuff I wish I could have got done more outside. Like, it would have been a perfect day to do some of the yard work stuff that I have, and I was more motivated to do it too. So that kind of was funny. But
right. Well, last weekend, I got one of my stumps burned completely, like almost to the knee down in the ground.
Nice.
Like a big old hole. So it's gone like that far down. So hopefully nothing's coming back. So I filled in that hole this weekend.
So we're going to jump in and talk about this real quick. We have coming up this Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, Superman Trivia Night. We're going to be live, and we're going to be doing Superman Trivia here, and I don't know what to expect. It'll be our first time trying something like this, so bear with us, but join us. It'll be a good time. Also, I don't have it up here, but this coming Saturday will be at 9 o'clock a.m. will be our first launch into Saturday morning cartoon watch along for Superman the Animated Series. So join us for that fun tidbit as we start doing that. Maybe every Saturday or at least once a month. We haven't quite decided. We're working on it. So yeah, it'll be a good time. But let's get into some news. First up, right here, James Gunn's Superman film has rounded out its Daily Planet bullpen. Michaela Hoover and Christopher Mack, that's spelled wrong, but that wasn't the Daily Planet's fault. It's a whole story we'll get to. Both of whom have worked with director before, will be playing Cat Grant and Ron Troop. It's hilarious because of our last recording, we were talking about this, and then they were cast the next day. Now, Michaela here was in Guardians of the Galaxy. She played the assistant to Nova Prime, and then she was how can we say this appropriately? The humorously bouncing boobed lady in The Suicide Squad. So
that's a funny way of putting that.
I mean,
yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
She doesn't have a character name or nothing in that. And I was like looking through her IMDb and I was like, wait. And then everyone was attaching that clip to her casting. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, just some kind of like government secretary.
Yeah, but I feel if I just said government secretary, people are like, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's a whole office full of people running point while they're operating in Corto Maltese. But yeah, that's hilarious. Like next day, it was like, oh, we were just talking about that, and they rounded out the cast.
It was hilarious. What was even funnier, is they spelled Christopher McDonald's name wrong, okay? And James Gunn was very quick to tweet at I saw at Deadline because everyone was attaching Christopher McDonald, most famously known as Shooter McGavin, and even on IMDb it has Shooter McGavin right here listed as Ron Troop. and I had to like screenshot that because I was laughing so hard because it was just like, oh my gosh. Like,
I mean, I'm just saying it would be amazing.
I mean, what's funny is he has cred, okay, because he was the voice of Jor-El in Superman the Animated Series.
Absolutely.
And everything. So it has cred. I'm looking now, I'm trying to see if they fixed it on IMDb. It always comes up so weird from a computer compared to But let's see, have they fixed it?
Used to pulling it up on your phone or a tablet these days.
Yep. So it has changed the name, and there's no picture attached to it, but it has the more correct spelling for Ron Troop. And let's see it. Yeah, so there's no acting credits, so they have not completely fixed it. But you know what? I'm just happy that we're getting more of the Daily Planet. And obviously, we'll be getting the Daily Planet as a central figure of the film. And we have our cat and our Ron. And yeah, that's pretty much all of our Daily Planet that we need.
Yeah, I'm really excited about just the prospect of getting a wider world. Hopefully, some people just a little involved. You know, I mean, they don't have to be involved like Lois would be involved.
Yeah.
Obviously.
The only thing that I need right now is I need a really good Bibbo. Like I would really like to have Bibbo too, and I feel like if I got Bibbo, I feel like I'm really getting my.
If they cast a Bibbo that looks anything like he was drawn in the last Action Comics I read him in, man, they're gonna need somebody like swole up in there.
My favorite
with Tom Hopper. No, not Tom Hopper. Guy from Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, Tom. Is it Hooper? Is it Hooper?
Hooper?
Who was also in. I think so. Who was also in Resident Evil?
Yeah, he played Albert Wesker in Resident Evil, and he was Luther in Umbrella Academy.
Which season 4 is coming, man. And he was also in Game of Thrones too, as Dick and Tully or something like that. I don't know. But
I think he was in something like Black Sails or something.
I think he would be cool to do it. I want my favorite Bibbo has been what do you call the Death of Superman? Yeah, he was in he was in Black Sails. Merlin, Game of Thrones, where he was Dick. Dick and Tarly.
Okay.
So like he's a good actor and he's got cred, man. Like, and I've enjoyed him in Umbrella. So, all right, continuing with Superman the movie stuff. We got our first look at the LexCorp logo here on this picture, spotted on set. You know, not that big a deal, but it's kind of cool. You know, because we really haven't.
Going with the Luthor Corp.
Yeah, instead of LexCorp.
Yeah, I mean, going with the Luthor Corp, like old Smallville.
I think that's the biggest takeaway from that. Is doing that instead of doing Lex. And I think it's a way of separating itself from things before. And then this is weird, but
from most media. And then, I mean, honestly, the current one with My Adventures with Superman, we've already gotten the LexCorp name drop. So
yeah, we have here the slate of Superman from James Gunn.
I like it.
So do I. So that's cool. The symbols growing on me, especially like that. It looks good. Our friend of the show, Ed Gross, did a panel at Superman Celebration, and he actually had a shirt with that symbol on it. And I was like, "Hey Ed, link, buddy, link." So, but some cool things I saw from Superman Celebration as I'm going through some of the videos and people's postings is he made that awesome book on the history of Superman, but he has one coming that's very similar. That's on the history of Supergirl, and that's going to be a cool book to check out. So I look forward to reading that book.
That one will be actually quite interesting, just because her story has changed a lot over the years.
Mm-hmm. So this is cool. So we didn't talk about this, but the Batman Forever line for McFarlane has been released, and pre-orders already sold out on McFarlane Toys. Now, I'll tell you this story. I clicked on Batman a couple minutes after it released for Amazon, and it was sold out for pre-orders. The moment that Robin was released, I clicked on it for Amazon, and I hit pre-order, and my app reloaded, like it glitched, and then I did it again, and it glitched, and then when I went to do it the third time, it already hit sold out.
Oh my god.
So I was able to pre-order Riddler and Two-Face, but I want that Batman and Robin.
Yeah. I definitely do want that Batman and Robin. I had that Robin as a figure back when I was a kid. So I mean, it would just be awesome to have that Robin. It'd be funny because it'd be standing next to, I think the only other Robin I have is Carrie Kelly from the old Mattel multiverse line,
Yeah.
from the Dark Knight Returns line.
Nice.
Yep. So, but yeah, I would definitely like to have that one.
Well, like I
And
want that whole line, and I want the whole Batman and Robin line. Like all I have from that is Batman, because I haven't found the others like in the wild. Because like
yeah,
nobody cares. Like okay, Target's like 40 minutes from me. The two Walmarts that are close to me barely carry the McFarlanes anymore. And I found Batman at GameStop.
Mm.
So and I
It's
need
been
to
the same McFarlane's at the Walmarts near me forever. The
yeah.
same ones.
So it's really pissing me off because
I mean, I could get a Black Lantern Superman if I wanted to, because it's always there. Which I don't have that one, but still.
I found that one used at a bookstore. What do you call it? Like a buybacks. But all right, let's get into any other news. We got the LexCorp. Oh, did you check out the trailer for Absolute Power? The comic
No,
series?
actually, no, I did not. That is something I meant to check out. I did see it.
It just looks cool. Like it's just something to talk about. The comics. It's the upcoming big blockbuster event of the summer where somehow Amanda Waller and this failsafe Batman thing, whatever it is, steals all the powers of the DC characters, and they have to save the universe without powers or the world.
Interesting.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll get
I mean,
there.
well, yeah. I mean, we'll get there. One, it's gonna be in the app. It's gonna be
Yep,
kind of like the main thing that'll be going at the time,
we'll probably talk about it
along with our
in
books.
September, probably.
Let's say whenever it ends. But also, it's being written by Mark Waid.
Yeah, so
So
that's the most
that's a
exciting part.
plus.
Yeah, that's the most
Yeah.
exciting part. And Dan Morris doing the
Usually lands more than not.
so and Dan Morris doing the art, which I love Dan Morris art.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's all I got for news. So now we'll talk about this fun The Adventures of Superboy. Now, an announcement with Superboy here. James and I have decided that while My Adventures with Superman's airing right now, and we're covering that, we're gonna after today's episode, we're gonna pause our Superboy coverage, and we'll come back to that. So that we're not overloading our shows and discussions and trying to like burn through things. We're just gonna take it slower.
Yeah, we'll be burning through our content to talk about kind of that way, and then it's more homework for everybody else to watch too if they want to watch along with all this stuff. It's just more things. If we're covering the new stuff as it comes out, and then this older stuff that we have, I mean, it's
Yep.
great in between content, and you know, us and everybody else doesn't have to watch 3-4 shows going on at the same time.
Exactly. There's no need for that. Like, like we talked about, is after Superman and Lois, that's all the current Superman stuff, really. We'll talk about other DC stuff, but we don't need to, run through things. But all right. So this episode of Superboy is season 1, episode 3, called Back to Oblivion. It aired Saturday, October 22nd, 1988. TJ goes to a scrapyard to investigate strange things that have happened there. When he arrives, he is trapped in a crushing machine by the old Mr. Wagner, who owns the scrapyard. James, let me get my notes out. My handy dandy notebook.
That was like the first 4 minutes of the episode.
Oh, I know.
All they had to do was add in there Lana in her short shorts steals Clark's hot dog.
Yeah, I was going to say
had like the whole episode.
Yeah, she steals his hot dog, but that was really, I think, a metaphor for something else, because this is the one where Clark and Lana get a little flirty in this one.
Yeah, they do.
She pushes him in the pool. She dives in her bikini. And then, like, my favorite part of the whole thing is when Clark's in the pool, he hears and he flies out of the pool as Superboy, goes and saves TJ, then comes back and Lana's looking for him and he pops up back as Clark and she's like, "Where have you been?" He's like, "Huh, dropped my glasses in the bottom of the pool."
Right. I mean, you can't blame him, honestly. I mean, one, it's kind of the closest thing to like the standing love interest. But
Yeah.
man, Stacy was looking good in this
Um,
episode. Even in the junkyard, I don't know if it was that lighting inside those dark sets or whatever, but man, her eyes were just like piercing blue too. They were
they
so
were.
bright. Yeah,
There's
she looked beautiful in this episode.
This episode shifts where she goes to the junkyard to investigate because like TJ was supposed to wait for Clark and Lana, and basically Mr. Wagner is having PTSD and thinks it's World War II. He doesn't call Lana by her name, and she's trying to prove to him that the war is over and all this. And Superboy, has to come in and save her. And we see the newspaper that she grabs as an issue of the Daily Planet, and it was a pretty good episode.
Yeah, I think they really kind of raised the stakes here a little bit. Very serious history. Him being an Auschwitz survivor, the PTSD aspect, her trying to get through to him rigging the door to explode with like 300 sticks of dynamite. Yeah, it had a pretty serious tone in this episode,
which was surprising, but I liked it, and I'm really enjoying season 1 again a lot more than, I don't know, the first time I watched it, but we didn't cover it. I just watched it on my own, but I don't know, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I think we covered I think we might have actually gotten to this point once before.
We just did the pilot. Well, we just did the first. Yeah, we just did the first episode that's where we learned that it wasn't the pilot.
Maybe it was just me watching a couple episodes ahead then.
Maybe back when, it was on the DC Universe app, and then we lost that, and then Tubi got it, and we're like, oh, well, we wanted to sample, Gerard just to get a comparison while we had it streaming. And then we went ahead and did season 2 just because we had started it. But
yeah. Well, it's nice to jump back to season 1, and I'm liking John. I am liking John, his Clark, and his Superman. It was funny how he was trying to hide his face while he tried to get his glasses on in the pool.
Yeah, I am too. Like I think he's finding a nice medium of Clark, but not being the pushover super nerd that would later kind of be the thing. I don't know. I feel like in season 2, Gerard tries a little too hard to be kind of Chris-ish and like nerdy Clark. That's kind of not even like, like wearing loafers with white socks. Like, come on, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, if you look at it, Gerard was definitely trying to be more like Reeve, and we've got John is more comparable to like Dean on New Adventures of Superman. New Adventures of Lois and Clark.
Yeah, I was about to say, you said Dean. I was like, not Winchester.
No. Wrong universe.
All right. Well, next thing we got on our agenda to talk about today is there happened to be a new episode of this fine show. Boom. My Adventures with Superman. As we are going through season 2. Now, today's episode, boys and girls, is called Two Lanes Diverge, which is interesting because this is last week's was the first episode that wasn't like My Adventures with. All the episodes so far have had that in their title.
Right.
And let me give you the synopsis here. Jimmy gets invited to the Star Labs symposium. Clark joins him for support, but Lex takes over. Meanwhile, the general flees and Lois chases after him, struggling to reconcile the past experiences with the present situation. Can I just say that this episode was amazing? like on so many levels. Like we watch this as a family, and we won't watch it without being a family, and we watch it in the morning for over breakfast, and the kids are very much intrigued and into it. But man, like this episode, it was good stuff. Like it hit home like really hard.
I just another episode that is just so damn good.
I don't want this show to end.
No, it absolutely needs to continue getting picked up. If people are out there watching it, watch it on Adult Swim, watch it on Max, like, stream those numbers.
Yeah. So let's I have some detailed show notes. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. Let me hear what you got.
So, Jimmy gets invited. We talked about that, but the first big thing is Clark tries to tell Lois that he loves her but gets cut off on the voicemail. And
that's probably good. It's cut off.
But it's so interesting because she tries to tell him that later too, but he doesn't. Oh, we'll get there. But what do you call it? I can't talk. We have our Jimmy Olsen counter back. We did not have it last episode. That was something that we forgot to mention. We did not have his money counter. But it's
Which might I say, like, did he buy that limo? Because that was expensive.
Yeah.
Like he should have just rented that limo because it went down like $100,000. He should have really only, even for a big, super nice limo, I mean, few $1,000s, right? Even in Metropolis.
Yeah. So that was one of my questions. I didn't get to write down how much it was, but that was one of my questions. Was like, wait a minute, that looks a little higher than just renting a limo.
Yeah, like he bought a supersized limo. It's like buying a Hummer limo or something.
And this episode, like, is, man, like this one. Okay, I'll get there. We have flashbacks that we see Lois in like 3 different parts of her life doing this woods training of like following the North Star to find Sam. And the first time it addresses her mom being sick and not doing as many things. The second time is after her mom's dead, and the third time is where Lois really, we see what kind of brings her and her dad and splitting apart. And she, her dad's always trying to teach her to do stuff on her own, and that's when she's like, well, fine, I'll do it on my own. So
we do find out that her mother is Korean.
Yes, so we do get Lois this Korean name because we knew that that this Lois was of some type of Asian ancestry, and I had heard the producer reference Korean, but there had never been anything in the episode to tell us that. So
yeah, her mother's name means Silver Star.
Mm-hmm. So now we get it also, okay, since we're on the Sam and Lois stuff, when she breaks down saying she has no body, it pretty much confirms there is no Lucy. Because she talks about mom being dead and that she has no one else. There is no one else, just him. So that to me just pretty much confirms there is no Lucy Lane.
Yeah, that's how I took it. I thought about that too. I said, well, I guess maybe there's no Lucy here then.
So yeah, that was an interesting state, but you know what? Cool. Like that's what they want to do. They want to make it more just father and daughter. Okay. That's a strong story.
Yeah. Well, they've changed a lot of origins and things like that, stories, backstories, a little bit. So just making it a father and daughter story, a little more focused. It is already a pretty heavy ensemble cast.
Mm-hmm.
with a lot of people. You know, a lot of episodes are your core cast, and then it's episodes here or there where they pull somebody in, you know, different Daily Planner reporters on one episode here and there. You know, that's it.
Lois still hasn't told Clark or anyone else about the job interview from Vicky Vale, and Clark's trying to talk to Lois about the key he has to find Kara. You know, he tried to tell her he needs to talk to her. Something that's a setup. We do get Jimmy Olsen called Superman's pal as he comes out um, to the symposium, and we find that he kind of was set up at the big symposium. And before he goes on, like there's this great scene between Jimmy and Clark where he says, Jimmy makes a joke to someone that he had saved Superman's life a couple times, and Clark tells him 13 times that Jimmy had saved his life 13 times. And the one was when they first met as roommates, and he said, we're going to be friends. And, you know, and Jimmy makes a comment, don't get all mushy here in the anti-gravity room. And
I liked it. Did you see the tears squirt out of Jimmy's eyes and just float away?
Yeah. And they're talking about flying. He's like, how do you stop? He's like, it's not a lot. It's not like this.
Yeah, it's not quite like this. And Jimmy goes wham into the wall.
But we find out that the speech is on the Superman problem, and Jimmy's talking, and Lex interjects and changes everything and flips everything that Jimmy said about choice and everything to where Jimmy's trying to argue, but Jimmy is so stunned. And Lex has a great line. He says, knowledge is security. Earth is for Earthlings. And then Lex makes a comment to Clark, you know, as to Superman and everything. When Superman, so pause that. Hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. Sam and Lois are basically, Sam says he's being attacked. We find out he has a secret bunker, and he gets attacked by Slade, Atomic Skull, and that big guy that I don't remember who it is. And during that time, we find out he goes to a pawn shop to get a passport, and it's by Winslow Schott, aka Toyman. And it's great because, you know, he says, don't grab the teddy bear. And at one point Sam does, and it blows up. But basically they end up falling into the expo, and Clark becomes Superman, and he's trying to save everyone. And Sam and Lois, you know, grab some of the tech that was there that we had seen tested earlier. And then Sam and Lois end up teleporting away. And it's just Superman left. And Lex uses that as a way of twisting it to where he's like, look, the best protection stuff that we have to offer, and not even that could stop Superman. And Lex makes the comment to Jimmy about thanks for the advice. And Clark really feels like Jimmy had betrayed him then. Like you see it on his face.
Yeah.
And it hit hard for him.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Lex, I mean, he's arguing the way that sounds good and right to people, you know. If you if you argue right, you're never wrong.
Yeah. Back to my favorite scene in Nick Naylor and Thank You for Smoking.
Right.
He's like, that's the whole point of argument, is not proving you're right, but proving the other person wrong.
So, I mean, it's a good argument, clearly. I mean, that's why people, that's why so many people are, but it's just, it's like different, you know, it's Luthor wants to do it to, I mean, essentially, obviously it's going to be to kill Superman. That's Waller's end goal. That's what Luthor's end goal is going to be. You know, he even blames Superman for Ivo becoming what he is when Ivo did it to himself.
Yeah.
But blaming Superman for it. You know, I mean, just twisting things to make it seem like just to make Superman the bad guy.
And, you know, I want to shout out to, I love the score, like the very rock heavy music score. And I was wondering if they were going to do, because Slade was there, because remember, Slade's supposed to have kryptonite on his sword. But I did like the shot of kind of Sam and Superman fighting back to back and together. But so later we have Sam is at Lois's place, and Lois calls Clark to say she can't make it at 8. But when she's talking with her dad, he says that, something about Kent's, he's odd. And Lois is like, yeah, he is. And Clark, like, he flies away, and I'm like, did he turn off his hearing or what? Because he doesn't hear when she says, but that's what I love about him.
Yeah, he sounds like he was hurt and he stopped listening.
So he feels now betrayed and exiled by Jimmy. He now feels hurt by Lois. And then he pulls out the key and starts talking to it like he wants to find Kara. And he's like, I'm so tired of feeling alone. And that's kind of the theme of this. I was just like, Lois is talking with her dad about being alone and feeling alone. And, Clark feels alone. He sends it out to find Kara. And it's just kind of really this somber ending. And then we see Brainiac floating over top of Earth.
Well, that's why he said the first time Jimmy saved him was when he said, we're going to be friends.
Exactly.
Because he's not lonely anymore. He has a friend.
Yeah. And now, I like when Jimmy's like, all those times I covered for you in college, you didn't even know about.
Right.
But like, did you see this? Like, I watched, like, this was the last shot, and it was like I want to say a post-credit scene, but it was like at the end of the credits. It was just this one frame.
Really? No,
because we were just letting the credits play as we were talking about the episode, and like this just kind of flashed right before it ended, and I was like, dang, that is such a somber looking Superman. But
interesting. Yeah, and I don't know who was up there above Earth and looking down, but
I say it's Brainiac. Like, that's supposed to be, like, it looks like it. I mean, people are saying Zod, but it's supposed to be Brainiac that's coming. So, but I'm just, we'll see. I have some other thoughts, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we're still waiting to see. We got some different history here. With Krypton being a
empire,
an empire, invading and conquering other planets around the galaxy, before they spread themselves too thin and was destroyed. So it's very different. And then the idea of the Brainiac being part of the ship, Jor-El was talking about that. So is this a Kryptonian construct, a Kryptonian creation, like the animated series before?
Who knows?
Yup. Gotta wait to see.
So yeah. Let's I gotta straighten that up. But so the next thing, we're gonna get into our comic for this week, but I have something that was sent to me. It's a discussion from Twitter, and this is an interesting thing that you can't really see, but I'm gonna read it from my phone. It is I was attached to an article that was written by George Perez that talked about his time writing Superman, and it kind of confirms what he thought. But I'll read this. It says, in his own words, George Perez, unfortunately, when you are writing a major character, you sometimes have to make a lot of compromises. And I was made certain promises. Unfortunately, not through any fault of Dan DiDio, he was no longer the last word. A lot of people making decisions going against each other's, contradicting again in mid-story. The people who love my Superman arc, I thank you. What you read, I don't know. After I wrote it, I told them, here's my scripts. If you change it, that's your prerogative. Don't tell me. Don't ask me to edit it. Don't ask me to correct it. I don't want to change something that you're going to change again if you disagree. No. Superman is a big character. I was flattered by the responsibility, but I thought this was getting a little tough. I didn't mind the changes in Superman. I just wish it was the same decision, issue 1 or issue 2. I had to keep rewriting things because another person changed their mind, and that was a lot tougher. It wasn't the same as doing Wonder Woman, where I was given a full year to get Wonder Woman established before enfolded into the DC universe properly. I had a wonderful editor, Karen Berger, who ran Shotgun for me. They wanted me to recreate what I did through Wonder Woman, but it's not the same. Not the same atmosphere. I couldn't do it anymore. And the writer who replaced me, Keith Giffen, was very nice. And I've known Keith since we both started in the industry. He called me up when they asked him to do Superman to make sure I wasn't being fired off Superman. And regrettably, I did have to tell him I can't wait to get off Superman. It was not the experience I wanted it to be. So I feel that kind of sums up how we were talking about how this felt odd, and just, from such a talented, amazing creator, we just kind of felt like something was off. And I feel like that just kind of really proves what we were feeling.
Sounds like a lot of some things that might have been missed, or things might have been stuff that was cut out, truncated his story.
Mm-hmm.
And, for whatever reason or another.
So, but yeah, so I wanted to share that before we got started, because, we had talked about that, and I appreciate them for sending that over to me so we could talk about that on today's episode. Now we're going to get into this week's reading. Volume 2, Secret and Lies. And we have Dan Jurgens, Keith Giffen, and Jesus Marino. So yeah, let's get into this. I'm pulling it up right now on my app, but I do want to say, I was thinking about this as I was reading. I think Dan Jurgens is probably the most prolific Superman writer we have, because think about, he's touched Superman in the 80s, the 90s. I'm going through everything. So, excuse me if I'm wrong, but like, he touched the New 52 Superman. He even did Rebirth stuff. He had to have worked on Superman in the 2000s. So I mean, that's different incarnations of the character, but he still made it feel like Superman, even when they were changing it to, to be a different kind of Superman.
Right. And just looking through these issues, he was the primary pencil artist on this, and we know Dan Jurgens drew Superman back when he wrote it as well, back like in the 90s. And the style is still, it's very New 52. It does not look like Superman from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that he was able, he did so well with keeping the style the way it looked in the New 52.
And I thought it was interesting. He's credited as co-plotting the story. So I thought that was interesting. But so this volume, I'm gonna try to find it here. It's always in the small print and it's, well, can't see it, can't read. But okay, question: do you have issues with your app sometimes, where like you'll click on a page and it just comes up like solid black or solid blue?
Once in a while, and it's usually when it comes up black or blue, it's usually when I'm flipping through pages, and then I'll flip back and forth to make sure I'm like not missing anything. Normally with my app, it'll be like if I click on the page, or if I click on the comic, the screen will go black, and it'll give me the loading circle, and it won't load. I'll have to back out and reload it, and it'll usually load. And it's usually when I go to like the book details above in this series, so that way you can click read or resume or download that page. That's where it tends to mess up on me, but usually going back and reloading the page works just fine.
Yeah, but like one page doesn't want to work for me. But okay, so we get into this book. I liked this volume better, and I think because there's maybe a little bit more cohesiveness in the stories. But I do want to point out a few things here. One, we're in the Superman book, okay? So when we're done with this volume, we've technically been in the first year of the New 52 for Superman. Okay, not counting action, just Superman. He has not interacted with Lex Luthor or any known supervillains. It's been all new creations.
Mm-hmm.
So like the first one he goes to is Hellspawn. Is that how you pronounced it?
Yeah.
What did you think of this character in the story?
So in the story as a whole, you know, he comes back. Um, he's a pretty powerful type character. Um, I mean, ancient character thousands of years ago from his home planet. Um, I mean, um, kind of like a tragic villain in a sense, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like Zod from Man of Steel. Uh, you know, my purpose is to protect my people, and um, you know, they and no matter what he has to do, how many he has to kill to protect more, um, you know, he's going to do that. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
you know, talking about the history of his race,
That was
diluting their blood, becoming more um, cancer ridden and disease susceptible, cancer and disease susceptible.
yeah, when he talked about like acquiring the blue fire and everything was interesting. Um, but I thought it was interesting. He's only in like 2 issues, and then he goes away and he comes back for 1.
Yeah,
I thought,
he has some interesting powers, you know.
yeah, like how he put like the like I don't like to use the term squid, but like starfish squid looking thing in Superman's mouth, and he talked about it's something that their culture would do to even like train their young and stuff by putting that in their mouth and then kind of uploading information.
Um, yeah, yeah, that it would grow in them, and they would be able to show and experience real hate and real fear almost in a dream, so that the way they would know, you know, what to fear in real life, kind of a thing. It
Mhm.
was almost a Black Mercy type deal,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. Now, I do find interesting in this stories, we have Jimmy and Lois and Clark, and we have some more interaction with them that feels more familiar. And we get more of the sense of Lois and Clark's friendship and Jimmy's. Um, they both ask Clark for a favor at the same time. Perry's giving him an assignment, and Clark's supposed to go pick up Lois or Lucy, and Jimmy wants to crash at Clark's apartment. In the first issue, we get a cool shot of how the biotech suit's kind of like growing on him, which is interesting because I remember like there's later, and I don't remember what book it is, where you just see the symbol and it's really small on his chest. And then it grows big and grows the whole suit. And in this, we have a shot of him like with a whole undershirt, and then the rest of the suit starts growing, like the sleeves, the collar, the cape. Um, so it's just interesting how that evolves over time as well.
Yeah. I always liked the way that the bio suit worked in this run of the new 52. Um
To me, it's
I
just
don't know. I personally I think it's cool, and I mean it's not like John shooting out of the pool in full Superboy garb when he was pushed in the pool in regular clothes.
it's
Like-
a it's I like it for 2 reasons. One, it's a great way of it being alien and connected to his heritage, and the fact that it took on the House of L is because it recognized his DNA. Um, the cape's not originally part of the bio suit, but it became part of it. And it also just kind of helps with how does he wear the boots and the whole suit under his clothes? Like we've always saw like the shirt rip. I'm like, okay, he's got the suit on underneath, but like, how does he have that cape tucked under his clothes? How does he have those boots inside his, shoes? It just kind of like
Especially when
makes,
he's wearing dress shoes, you know.
yeah, it's like they kind of try to make it like, okay, this is how the suit works, and I feel like in a way Snyder kind of sidestepped that by like a Man of Steel. He never really has that, kind of thing, because he's always like he's either Clark or he's Superman in that movie. And then
He
in
doesn't
BVS,
really have a change, a clothing change.
we get the one scene where he grabs his tie, and then it cuts to him saving the house. So they kind of sidestep, like, yeah, we don't know how it's gonna work, but
Right. Which was the beautiful thing, because it was all the way up until Justice League before we got the full shirt rip.
which it makes
It was a
sense.
nice build. I do like the bio suit. I like the way it goes. I also like the scene where he was damaged. The suit took damage and everything, but it would kind of repair itself. But then he was lying with his suit separate. He was in like a white suit, and he was laying with his cape draped over something separately.
Yeah,
So it
because
wasn't part of the same suit.
the white suit is his suit. It
Hmm.
just it just turns once it, like, I remember it's in action where they address it, but when it reads what your Kryptonian DNA is, it takes on the color and symbol and everything of your house. So I thought it showed the powerful fight that he had. But what I find interesting is um he comes home with a black eye, and Jimmy's like, "What's going on?" Um and he forgot to get Lucy. And I think it's really interesting in this how they're kind of pushing Lucy and Clark together. Like, it's almost like Lois is trying to hook Clark up with her sister.
Yeah. Like he's always he's got this like pining for Lois, like in his monologue, like behind the scenes, a little bit, not like very heavily, not very strongly, but a little bit. Like he definitely cares more for her than just a friend. But yeah, and you can see it once in a while from Lois. But yeah, it's funny how she's pushing, and you see that in like shows and stuff. That's almost like sitcom stuff where the girl likes the guy, but she's pushing her friend on the guy, like
Yeah.
because she's involved or whatever.
And it's just like, it's really heavy. Now, when we get into another issue, we have this blogger journalist who says he has proof that Superman has a secret identity and he can confirm it. Superman also saves a Russian sub. And what I think is interesting about this trade here is like it's like in these two kind of issue things compared to being like one giant story arc. And then we have this lady robbing a bank for this jewelry. And the guy, so the blogger goes to Lois, who turns him down. And then he goes back to Morgan Edge, who accepts this and doesn't even care how great the proof is. And he's like, I'm going to run it on one of my other networks, the one that's not attached to the Daily Planet, just to get, views. And Lois, of course, confronts Clark about missing the dinner tells him to come to dinner because of Lucy. But Clark goes to fight this girl, and I'm trying to find her name. It's something.
Anguish.
Yeah. She can basically phase her body and everything, so he can't land any blows on her. But this poor guy.
Well, it almost seems permanent. Like she can touch things, but like things can't touch her. So like she can't feel anything. She can only, yeah. I mean, they don't go into how that works or anything. But yeah, it's. I'm not sure if she does it or if it's just a reflex, because she says she can't feel anything.
What I think, so he's fighting her while on the Jumbotron. It's revealed Superman's true identity. Oh man, we're gonna get Superman
Spence Becker.
Spence Becker, and he doesn't really even look like Superman.
I never knew Superman's name was Spence Becker.
And everyone's like, "Oh, how'd you get this?" And they're like, "Oh, because Superman can, change his perception." And everyone just believes it, and the picture's like just him with his tie off changing in the alley or something. And so they're running this while Superman's battling, and Anguish basically goes after Spence's family. And my app just reloaded. What the heck? Like, it took me back to the beginning. It does this sometimes when I access it from a web page. And
I almost never do that. So,
well, Sailor drained the battery on my iPad and didn't charge it.
that makes sense.
Oh my God, it's pissing me off. But anyways, so the story goes on, and Anguish shows up at Spence's house and attacks his wife and daughter. And Superman shows up and fights, and they're in the same place, and the blogger's trying to be like, oh look, it's a fake, one of them's a robot, and Spence knocks out the blogger, and Superman makes a comment about irresponsible journalism. And Lois keeps trying to ask Superman questions like, does he have a secret identity? Does he live somewhere else? Does he this? And Jimmy's got all these crazy like, oh, he would be like on a tropical place or doing this, or
he has a palace, he has a mansion, he has a harem.
And I'm just kind of like, really, Jimmy? Like, really? And it's really good. I like this part. And during the battle, Anguish's locket gets destroyed. It's the only thing that meant to her, because it's something that has the only picture of her mom that her dad took from her. So it's very special. And Superman, gets destroyed, but he fixes it and he returns it to her, and that kind of stops her. It's the emotional. And he says, I'm going to take you to get help at Star Labs. I'll have people actually help you. And then, so during this, while that ends, we had a whole subplot where Superman saved this Russian sub, and they were carrying something. And of course, Clark gets the dinner with Lucy and has to leave. We get another awesome like suit up shot of the biosuit, and this time it's weird because like he has a white t-shirt on, and then the symbol's there, and then the biosuit grows. But basically, Superman has to fight this alien that looks like a predator.
Yeah, he does.
From the Russians. And basically it comes, man, I'm so pissed off right now. It does not want to work. But
well, he goes to Russia, and he finds that everybody has been killed here. Something has escaped. He talks to somebody, and this guy was a double agent serving on the president's secret service. So like this Russian spy. Very interesting. Superman follows the creature to a small town, and all the military and everybody says everybody's dead. No heartbeats. Everybody was killed. Then he gets attacked. Something that blasts him. So it went right to the core of his central nervous system. He's being attacked. And like he uses a wide burst from his heat blast to try and get the creature, but he misses, and the creature attacks him, cuts him. So this predator-like creature is very fast, very strong, has weapons that can cut Superman. So not a usual opponent. And he uses a lot of gear, a lot of tech, stuff that messes with Superman. This is actually where we see the suit separated. Like it attacks the nervous system. Maybe that's why the suit went white, because like it scrambled the suit, scrambled the Superman's nervous system.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's that issue. Issue ends with Superman laying pretty well beaten down by this creature.
And yeah, and the creature goes home, and he's like, no, you'll pay for your crimes, basically. And the creature's like, I was just defending myself, and I just want to go home. Like that's his whole argument. It's like, I was defending myself. They pulled me here. They did this to me, and I just want to go home. And that's kind of Superman's whole, like, that he says things about, coming from your planet and all this stuff. And it's very interesting how I don't want to say parallels like what Superman's kind of gone through. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, you just ran through the the main chunk of this next issue.
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. And he, the creature returns home, and everybody's kind of like, Superman, what happened? He's just like, pfft.
Yeah. Then Clark shows up to take Lucy bungee jumping.
See, I remember
makes
that.
Makes up for his ditching her and standing her up and all that other stuff. But you say you don't remember that?
No, that I remember. Like, I remember reading that issue because I remember Clark in those shorts, and them like, it looks like you work out, Clark.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and then okay, so the last issue, okay, of this trade is the annual, which was the cover for this this volume, and that's written by Scott Lobdell, and it actually is where Hellspawn returns. Was in the annual, which I thought was interesting. So it's written by Scott Lobdell and Fabian. I'm not going to try that. Pencils by Marco Rudy, Miko Pascal. I can't, man. Pascal, Axel, Tom Rainey, and Elizabeth Torque. It's a 34-page annual. What did you think of this? Because it's like, this is where you get a little bit more of the Hellspawn story we were talking about, and we see how powerful he is and how he has people here on Earth. We do get Martian Manhunter because we have these, I don't know what you call them exactly, but people that are the same as Hellspawn that he activates and gives part of his power to, and they're going around doing things like they attack Starfire. They attack Grifter, which I thought was just randomly weird. And when they're like murdering people all over the world, Hawkman's under attack. I feel like this was so interesting for an entire, just as a annual. Like, usually annuals are like stories that touch on other things, but this really felt like that should have been like 2 issues.
Right. You get the history of Hellspawn, and then you get his return. Yeah, it's interesting. It does kind of like build up part of the story from something from something that came before and possibly something to come after. We get to see Martian Manhunter, Starfire, Grifter, Hawkman for a page.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just how I guess maybe Daemonites.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'll go with it.
Yeah, Daemonites, and how they actually were on Earth, and they decided to kind of just assimilate and live among the people. Stop trying to manipulate the metagene that Earthlings have.
I always think the metagene's interesting because they talk about the metahumans, but really none of the Justice Leagues are technically metahumans. Like the main 7, none of them are metahumans. You know that? Like, there's so much conversation in the DC world about the metahumans and the metagene, but then when you look at like who are the main Justice League members, none of them are metahumans.
Well, I mean, would you consider Flash a metahuman?
No, because he got his powers from a scientific accident.
Right, not necessarily a gene from within.
Yeah.
I mean, the only person close to it is Superman, but he's only an alien. He's not.
Martian Manhunter's an alien. Green Lantern's powered by an alien ring. Aquaman's part Atlantean, which isn't meta related. Wonder Woman's an Amazon brought to life or a demigod, so that's not meta related. Cyborg, depending on what, we're looking at the New 52 is, a related because of what do you call it? He's a machine. So yeah, I mean,
related by the mother box.
yeah. So I wouldn't call any of them metahumans. Now your metahumans are like later on people that get powers. So it's interesting. But all right. But what so at the end, like Hellspawn leaves, and I just found it really interesting how he kind of just leaves. It was just interesting for me because I'm like, this is what, the big annual, and it's like it brings in this whole story, but then he leaves, and I'm like, well, does he come back? Like,
Right. Yeah. He leaves. He's clearly very powerful. He's controlling this entire ship. He's got people who call him their dominant, and like they're all clearly powerful enough to attack some of DC's most powerful beings.
right.
So like, what is his? It's been so long since I've read it. I don't know. Like, what is his? What's his goal in mind?
He, at one point he says to Superman, like, thank you for protecting, basically, thank you for protecting my investment or something like that. Basically, the idea of like, he's been protecting these people that he on the planet without even realizing that he's done it. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, somebody who's had, I don't know, long-term goals with the Earth, with conquering the Earth or using the Earth or the metagene or something.
Mm-hmm. So it's interesting. And I'm like, so I'm curious, like, does he come up again? Like, I don't remember. And we'll see as we, work on this whole, look at the New 52 Superman. So, but that's the story. Final thoughts on it, James?
I mean, Secrets and Lies, that's it's an apt title, with the three different kind of storylines that we have going on through the 6 issues. No, I liked it. I do think it was better than the first round. Even for multiple storylines, there was a little more cohesiveness from characters and plot threads that ran through the story. Things like with Clark's personal life that continued through each issue, that his life as Superman interfered with, but it continued, and it picked up those threads. So I thought it was good. I liked it.
Yeah.
New 52 gets a bad rap. We kind of know that.
And that's kind of why
we're
we're
at that age, and so was I. And that's where I kind of really jumped into like more canon reading.
It just brought me back, and that's into reading comics completely, because I felt like it was a jumping on point, and that's why we're reevaluating the New 52 Superman book to just see how it was and where it really fits in, and just kind of picking apart after this time. A lot of people don't talk about it as much, or if they do, it's kind of in a quick overview. So
right. And these days it's more like they ignore the New 52 or what happened in the New 52 and just kind of like this classic version of the character.
But let us know your thoughts, and yeah, hit us up at kryptonreport@gmail.com or any of our socials, kryptonreportpod, on all social media platforms. So until next time, remember,